So, when you think about paying off a debt, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably handing over some cash, right? Well, what if I told you that's just one of 5 different ways a debt can completely disappear? Okay, let's dive into the surprisingly creative world of extinguishing an obligation. Let's start with a super simple situation. Someone buys something, but they don't pay for it right away. They've got the product, but the whole deal isn't quite finished, is it? So the real question is, how do you actually get that sale to the finish line? This is what the source material we're looking at calls an incomplete exchange. You've got one person who's done their part, but the other person, well, they haven't yet. And that creates this thing that's just kind of hanging in the air, an obligation, a debt that has to be resolved before we can say the deal is truly done. All right, let's put some names to this to make it real. Meet Anna, she's our creditor, and Bruno, he's our debtor. Anna sells Bruno a TV for €1,000 on credit. Just like that, a debt is created and their exchange is officially incomplete. Our mission now is to find all the ways Bruno can settle up with Anna. Now, the way to fix this is called payment. But look closely at the definition. It's just the mechanism for getting rid of the obligation. Notice what it doesn't say. It says nothing about how it has to be done. And that little detail is where things get really, really interesting. Let's start with the most obvious path, right? The one we all know. The source calls this the direct route. And yup, you guessed it, payment in the strictest sense of the word. Bruno just gives Anna the €1,000 he owes her. The debt's gone, the exchange is complete, simple, straightforward, and it's exactly what we all think of when we hear paying a debt. But what happens if cash isn't on the table? Let's explore a couple of methods that don't involve money changing hands at all. Instead, we're either going to forgive the debt or we're going to transform it into something totally new. This brings us to option number 2, condonation. You can think of it as just debt forgiveness. Anna can simply decide all by herself to cancel Bruno's debt. Poof, it's gone. In a way, she's just turned that original sale into a gift. Now, obviously, this has some real consequences. Anna's wealth goes down, and Bruno's goes up because he got a TV for nothing. As you can probably guess, this is not exactly standard practice in business, but it definitely happens in some exceptional situations, like in bankruptcy cases. Okay, method number 3 is called novation, and this one is pretty clever. You extinguish the original debt, but you immediately replace it with a brand new obligation. So you're not getting rid of the debt entirely, you're just swapping it out for a different one. So let's just remember where we are. Bruno's original obligation, his first debt, is to pay Anna €1,000 for that television. That's the one we need to take care of. So with novation, Anna and Bruno could agree to a new deal. Instead of paying the money, Bruno's new obligation is to work for Anna for 20 hours. See what happened? The €1,000 debt is gone, but it's been replaced by a debt of service. The exchange is still incomplete, just in a totally different way now. All right, now for our 4th method, and this is where things get really fun. What if it's not just a one-way street? What if Anna also owes Bruno something? This opens up a pretty fascinating way to get everything settled. And this leads us to our 4th method, compensation. Let's imagine that after the whole TV sale, Anna turns around and buys a fridge from Bruno, also for €1,000 and also on credit. So now they have these perfectly matched mutual debts. Bruno owes Anna $1,000 and Anna owes Bruno $1,000. So, think about it. Why would they go through the hassle of physically exchanging 2 identical amounts of money? They don't have to. They can just agree to cancel the debts out. The 2 obligations just compensate for each other and poof, they're both extinguished. The net debt is 0, and the whole thing is settled without a single euro ever leaving a wallet. All right, for our 5th and final method, let's start with a question that sounds, well, a little bit nuts. Is it possible for you to be your own debtor? Can you actually owe money to yourself? This leads us to our last method, a wild concept called confusion. It's a bit of a mind bender, so let's walk through it slowly. Step 1. Bruno owes Anna €1,000. We know that. Step 2. Anna buys a fridge from Bruno. Now here's the crazy part. Step 3. Instead of giving him cash, Anna pays Bruno by just handing him back his own IOU. All of a sudden, Bruno is holding a piece of paper that says he is owed €1,000 by himself. And since you can't logically owe yourself money, the roles of debtor and creditor get confused. They merge into one, and the debt just evaporates. So, there you have it. 5 totally different ways to wipe out a debt. But here's the really cool part. The source we're using boils all of these down into three fundamental ideas of what payment actually is. Okay, let's zoom out to the big picture here. Every single method we've talked about fits neatly into one of three big categories. First, you can provide real assets. This is your classic payment, but it also includes compensation and confusion, basically anytime real value gets delivered. Second, you can defer the obligation, which is exactly what novation does. You're just kicking the can down the road. And finally, you can simply be exempted, which is what happens with forgiveness. You're just let off the hook. And all of this leaves us with one final big question to chew on. If paying someone doesn't always mean handing over money, if it can mean working for them or swapping IOUs, or even just having them hand you your own IOU back, then what is a debt really?